My name is Amy Mummert, and tonight I'm presenting From Bedbound to Rebound, A Creative Journey. Before talking about how art changed my life, I need to provide some context about what life was like beforehand. In my early 20s and living in Philadelphia, I found myself constantly complaining about the public school system. It'd be on the TV at night and I'd be complaining, yelling at my TV. So I decided to become part of the solution. My first teaching experience was at Kensington High School in Philadelphia. Teaching quickly became my passion, my purpose. I was full of energy, and now I had a direction in which to channel it. Eventually, I started teaching adults, mostly literacy, team building, and professional development. More important than contact, however, was empowering adults through the educational process and seeing the learners doing things like voting for the first time or helping their children with their homework. These are among the rewards of teaching adults. Okay, so my reputation was that of being high energy and good at what I did. More importantly, I was passionate about being in education, and I was following my bliss. I had worked so hard and I had checked all the boxes to ensure a successful career and to create a good life. At work, the only insurmountable challenge was the disconnect that sometimes existed between agency policies and providing a high-quality education. As I continued in my career as a teacher, I started to feel I could make a greater impact if I got into administration, where the rules were made. Still filled with energy and passion about education, I was offered a high-level administration position at Community College of Philadelphia, but then something happened. I went to the doctor thinking I had a really bad case of the flu. She explained that it wasn't flu season, but that something definitely was wrong with me. Little did I know that my life had changed forever. I ended up bedridden for the next year of my life, and eventually I was diagnosed with myalgia encephalomyelitis, formerly known as chronic fatigue syndrome. You need to apply for disability, my doctor said. I was in shock. I was like, you mean I'm not gonna get better? I'm supposed to go on disability? I'm not going back to work like next week, something like that. I'm not going to go back to work ever. So I held out in Philadelphia as long as I was financially able to, with no income coming in. And feeling utterly defeated, I finally had to move, and I moved to York, Pennsylvania because the cost of living was lower and I had family in the area. My plans and dreams had come crashing down around me. In my early 30s, life as I'd known it was over. My early years in New York were challenging. I didn't know anyone. I was profoundly lonely, and my life had no meaning. Over a year later, I finally started meeting people. I was introduced to drugs and alcohol. I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to feel better, so on top of the trauma and hopelessness, I entered active addiction. Then it happened. The final nail was hammered into the coffin. I was raped by a neighbor I'd known 10 years. I was in shock for months after it happened, and the anxiety, the nightmares, and the flashbacks were unbearable. This is when I hit my rock bottom, and I realized that drugs didn't help my anxiety, and I quit cold turkey. It was around this time that I went to my first paint night. A friend took me, and I didn't want to go because I'm about half agoraphobic at this point from the rape and from quitting the drugs cold turkey. Just the idea of leaving my apartment was overwhelming, and the idea of being around people I didn't know was really causing a lot of anxiety, but I'm glad I went. Since being raped, minutes felt like hours, and they were filled with deep breathing, endless mindless meditation, and just anxiety. But when I was painting, time flew, and I was free from anxiety. This is one of the first paintings that I made after I started painting at home the very next day. And I began painting every day, all day and all night, and that lasted for years. My early paintings were of thorny trees, which makes sense given my mental state. This one happens to have some flowers on it at least. But the actual artwork was not the point. I couldn't believe the relief that it was bringing my anxiety. I started painting mini canvases and quickly piled up because I was painting nonstop. I heard about art dropping, and when I heard about art dropping, I started going out in the early mornings to drop art downtown. Remember, I was about half agoraphobic, so that helped my anxiety and agoraphobia. And I learned about Art Drop Day, and I created a group on Facebook to encourage people to participate locally. The group has grown to over 1,000 members in 5 years. We have a large annual art drop in September for World Art Drop Day, and several smaller ones throughout the year. I was seeing how creating art was helping me cope with trauma, and it was a total game changer, which led to me creating a space for others to benefit from the healing qualities of painting, whether it was decompressing from a rough day or healing from trauma. So for the past 4 years, I've been facilitating a monthly paint night at Union Lutheran in the WeCo District of York. More recently, I founded York Artbook Collective. Local professional artists and non-professional artists are encouraged to complete a blank art book to add to the growing library, which travels, bringing art to the community and to those who might not otherwise see a collection from local artists. I still have myalgic encephalomyelitis, and I'm still resting and sleeping a lot. This is my guinea pig, Filbert. Sometimes it's days at a time, but it's more of a planned, intentional thing rather than a reaction to overdoing it as it was previously. So I've come to love York and the people of York, where art has played a major part of my healing. Art started the journey of having a life worth living, and again, I can dare to dream.